Let me tell you why you're here. You're tired of being outmaneuvered. You're sick of watching lesser minds climb over you because they understand something you don't. That human interaction isn't about truth or fairness, but about perception and control. This isn't some self-help nonsense about positive vibes. This is the raw, unfiltered psychology of power that rulers, conquerors, and elite negotiators have used for centuries. The average person reacts. The Machiavellian strategist engineers reactions. By the time we're done, you'll understand why emotional control isn't just an advantage. It's the ultimate weapon in business, relationships, and social dominance. You're about to learn how to turn emotional outbursts into strategic maneuvers, how to weaponize silence, and how to make others dance to your psychological tune without them ever realizing they're being played. Lesson 1. The silence stratagem, your first weapon of mass manipulation. When a predator attacks, prey reacts immediately. It flees, it fights, it panics. This is why prey gets eaten. The Machiavellian operator understands that immediate reactions are for the weak. Consider this. Every time you respond instantly to provocation, you're giving your opponent exactly what they want. Confirmation that they can control your emotional state. Now, let's examine the counter move. When you implement strategic silence, several psychological effects occur simultaneously. First, you create uncertainty. The other person's mind begins racing to interpret your lack of response. Is this indifference? Contempt? Preparation for retaliation? Second, you force them to fill the silence, which means they'll inevitably reveal more information than they intended. Third, you establish an aura of unpredictability that makes others hesitant to challenge you. The application is brutally simple yet devastatingly effective. When insulted, pause for exactly 7 seconds before responding. Timed practice is essential. When pressured for an answer you don't want to give, maintain eye contact and say nothing until the other person feels compelled to rephrase or withdraw the question. In negotiations, let your silence after an offer hang in the air. Most people will improve their terms just to escape the discomfort. This isn't just theory. It's psychological warfare at the highest level. FBI hostage negotiators use these exact tactics because they understand that whoever controls the silence controls the interaction. Lesson 2. Emotional decoupling, separating feeling from action. Your emotions are not your friends. They're tools to be deployed with surgical precision. The common man is ruled by his feelings. He gets angry and lashes out. He feels slighted and seeks revenge. He experiences desire and makes reckless decisions. The Machiavellian practitioner experiences these same emotions, but has built a psychological firewall between feeling and action. Here's how it works neurologically. When you feel an emotional surge, there's approximately a 6-second window before cortisol floods your system and impairs rational thinking. Your training begins with extending this window to 60 seconds, then 6 minutes, until eventually you can examine your emotions like a scientist studying bacteria under a microscope. Practical application. When you feel intense anger, immediately visualize yourself from third-person perspective. What does this version of you look like? What are his tells, his weaknesses? When experiencing strong attraction, force yourself to identify 3 strategic reasons why acting on it might be disadvantageous. This isn't repression. It's emotional alchemy, transforming base reactions into calculated strategies. Historical masters of this technique include Cardinal Richelieu, who famously said, "Give me 6 lines written by the most honest man, and I will find something in them to hang him," demonstrating his ability to separate personal feelings from political necessities. Lesson 3. Controlled volcano theory, strategic outburst engineering. Now we arrive at one of the most potent and misunderstood tools in the Machiavellian arsenal, the calculated outburst. Most people think emotional control means never showing anger. This is naive. Properly timed and carefully constructed displays of emotion can be more effective than any logical argument. The key lies in understanding three variables: intensity, how strongly you react; duration, how long it lasts; and frequency, how often you employ it. The amateur either never gets angry or is constantly angry. The professional uses anger like a scalpel, precise, controlled, and only when absolutely necessary. Implementation protocol. First, establish your baseline as someone who is consistently calm. This makes your eventual outburst more impactful. Second, choose a transgression that genuinely warrants reaction, but isn't personal. This maintains plausible deniability. Third, escalate quickly to maximum intensity, then shut it off abruptly. This creates psychological whiplash. Observe how Abraham Lincoln employed this technique. His legendary temper was real, but he only unleashed it at moments that served his strategic objectives. Your assignment: identify one situation per week where a controlled outburst could shift power dynamics in your favor. Then analyze the results like a clinical trial. Lesson 4. The Mirror Labyrinth. Advanced Psychological Reflection. Human beings are narcissistic by nature. We love seeing ourselves reflected in others. The Machiavellian exploits this weakness by becoming a living mirror. When dealing with aggressive personalities, subtly match their speech patterns and energy level. This disarms them. With insecure individuals, reflect their deepest, unspoken self-perceptions back at them. This builds dependency. For superior decision-makers, reflect their strategic thinking while adding 10% additional insight. This earns respect. The brilliance of this technique lies in its adaptability. You're not faking personality, you're demonstrating psychological fluidity. Case study. Examine how Talleyrand, the master diplomat, survived the French Revolution, Napoleon's reign, and the Bourbon Restoration by reflecting each regime's values while maintaining his own agenda. Your practical exercise. For 1 week, consciously mirror 3 different people each day in posture, speech, rhythm, and vocabulary. Record how their behavior toward you changes. This isn't imitation. It's strategic empathy weaponized for influence. Lesson 5. The Suspense Principle. Mastering Anticipation Dynamics. People fear the unknown more than any specific threat. The chess master doesn't win by making good moves. He wins by forcing his opponent to anticipate moves that never come. Apply this to human interaction by cultivating what intelligence operatives call calculated ambiguity. Leave certain key details unexplained in your stories. Allow pauses to linger just beyond comfort thresholds. When asked direct questions, respond with answers that are technically true but reveal nothing. This isn't evasion. It's strategic opacity designed to keep others psychologically off balance. Implementation framework. In conversations, practice the 40 to 60 rule. Speak only 40% of what you could say. In written communication, employ the white space technique. Say less than necessary and let the recipient's imagination fill the gaps. Study how Steve Jobs created reality distortion fields not through what he said, but through what he withheld. Your mission. Conduct an entire business meeting where you speak 30% less than usual while maintaining complete control of the agenda. Lesson 6. The Rusted Hook. Creating Emotional Debt. Human psychology has a peculiar flaw. We value what we've suffered for more than what comes easily. The Machiavellian manipulates this by creating what I call strategic friction, deliberately making others work for your approval, attention, or forgiveness. When someone wrongs you, don't simply accept their apology. Make them earn it through escalating demonstrations of remorse. When dispensing favors, structure them as multi-stage processes rather than one-time gifts. This isn't cruelty, it's psychological compounding interest. Operational protocol. Design a 3-tier system for granting access to your time attention. Level 1 requires minimal effort, a simple request. Level 2 demands meaningful sacrifice, completing a task for you. Level 3 necessitates public demonstration of loyalty. Watch how religious cults and elite fraternities use this principle to create fanatical devotion. Your exercise. Restructure your social interactions so that nothing of value is given freely. Everything must be exchanged for something that benefits your long-term position. Lesson 7. The terminal gambit. When to burn bridges strategically. Most relationships are liabilities disguised as assets. The final Machiavellian skill is knowing precisely when and how to sever connections for maximum advantage. The key lies in distinguishing between bridges that should be dismantled carefully and those that should be torched spectacularly. For expendable connections, implement gradual distancing, the slow fade. For toxic but useful relationships, engineer situations where they choose to leave, plausible deniability. For enemies that must be made examples of, arrange very public, very final confrontations that serve as warnings to others. Historical precedent. Analyze how Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, an act of bridge burning so dramatic it became legend. Modern application. Create your own Rubicon moments where you force decisive breaks that position you for greater power. Your final assignment. Identify one relationship in your life that needs termination, then execute one of the 3 protocols above with military precision. You now possess mental frameworks that 99% of people will never understand. This isn't knowledge, it's power in its purest form. But remember, these techniques are like nuclear weapons. Their effectiveness depends on your willingness to use them, while their danger lies in overuse. Start with Lesson 1 this week. Master one technique every month. A year from now, you won't recognize the person you were before this training. The question isn't whether these methods work. They've shaped empires. The question is whether you have the discipline to apply them consistently. The game was always rigged. Now you know how to rig it in your favor. Go play to win.